So, audience, we're bringing you in here to probably the best King of the Air heat of all time. Would you agree, Adrian?
Absolutely, definitely.
Interestingly, they both have 7 trick attempts, which is a trick every minute and 8 seconds, which is actually not that many if you think about it. But anyway, 8-minute heat, and this is the first of 3 semi-finals. Neither of them have lost a heat at this point. Liam's just taken down Stuart Downey with ease, and Nick beat Antonian Rangin by 3 points too.
Well, the wind is here. The green flag looks like it's in the air, and we are underway.
Yeah, 8 seconds in. Nick's only just leaving the beach. Not sure what he was doing for the first 8 seconds, but he's on his way now. And this is looking like, at this point, just a normal heat, isn't it? Nick's about to do his trademark 1-footer on the way back in. That scores a 6.3 when that does drop in a couple seconds.
It's pretty choppy on the inside there, right? It's not really flat water. You wouldn't call that a good run into some kickers there.
No, it's not a big wave period at all. But both of these guys make the most of it throughout this heat. And what we're about to see is Liam's first trick attempt. It's a big old boogie. It doesn't actually end up on his top score list, though. That comes in at 7.16. So Liam starts with a big boogie rotation. Then it's back on Nick, who answers with exactly the same trick. This is a real big scoring one, though. That's 8.44. You can see with that heli loop coming around real slowly, he must be on a 10 metre here, which he's confirmed to.
And those orbits just seem to go that much higher, right? I mean, there seems to be a noticeable difference in the height between the orbit and the bullet.
Yeah, I think the 10 metre has a part to play in that, but the orbit does go disgustingly high, and it goes like, it has more vertical yank than the bullet for sure.
I kind of feel if they'd spelt bullet correctly, maybe the kite would have gone higher.
Possibly. So that is a late back roll with an additional couple rotations from Liam. 7.88, so that's his second highest scoring trick. And the quality's dropped here because they've gone to a little chat with Aaron at this point. It's around this time that you start to get the impression that the wind's picking up. Like the kite, look at that there, the orbit's just like flexing a little bit in the air, and that's the first indication that this heat is going to get absolutely mental as time goes on, which it does.
What wind speed do they have here? I mean, Nick's on a 10 metre, right? Are they still below 30 knots, or are they getting up there?
Nah, I don't reckon. I reckon it must be pushing 30, yeah. Especially towards the end when, yeah. Anyway, we'll get to that. We don't want to plot spoil it too much, although everyone has already seen this, but yeah. Right, so we're in like a lay period here. Pretty much nothing happens for a minute and a half. But there's a bit of kite flexing, and Liam in a second fiddles with his straps as well. I reckon, because he's already got his boogie loop and his late back roll, Liam's probably thinking, okay, I've got to do some board offs now, so potentially loosening off his front strap here. This is when it happens here. So just his front strap, though, by the looks, doesn't look like he touches the back strap. Hard to see, but
yeah, he goes back there. One hand forward, one hand back. So yeah. It does look like he's loosening them off. Maybe it's a good call.
It does pay off for him. This is just Nick playing around on the inside again. That doesn't count for anything. So Nick and Liam have different approaches to the board off. Liam grabs the front rail, as opposed to Nick grabbing the fin. So different. There we
See,
go.
it's those. That bullet just does not go as high, right? I mean, it's very, very clear there. There's a noticeable difference in the heights.
Potentially advantageous for passes, which is where Liam takes this heat in the end. But yeah, this is King of the Air, and it's really height dominant, and yeah, I think Nick chose the right size for this. He manages to hold down the 10. I don't really know how, but
impressions. Yeah, but the impression scores have been dominated by guys who have showed variety, right? And their handle passes have been the difference for Liam, Jesse, Mark, all the way through this. So maybe he was banking on that.
Yeah, for sure. What have we got here? There's a second board off.
I mean, that's big.
From Nick, yeah. So that's an 8.06 from Nick, and that's one of his eventual high scores. a second of his eventual high scores. So Nick at the moment's got that first boogie we saw really early on, and then that board off. Liam here with another board off. So both of his board offs score around 7.5. The first one was just marginally higher, 7.52. That one was 7.50. I think just slightly more extension on that first one, maybe slightly higher. Hard to tell off the video.
I think it's good to do some tricks on the inside, even if they don't score. I think if you can build the crowd up right, the crowd really enjoy that, and you get a bit of pop. And I think maybe that does influence the judges in some way.
For sure. So Liam, there's slight lag on my file at this point. Ignore that technical difficulty. My end. So Liam at this point, I think, is thinking, shit, Nick's got 2 8s on the board. I'm going to need to do something magic here. So he's kind of backed into a corner to commit to some passes, which we see here. Here's his Kung Fu.
Boom. There we go.
So that scores a 6.84.
The difference with that one is Jesse did that extra pass right at the very end, right?
And it's about 3 times higher, and it's off a kicker. So interestingly, you can see Liam there putting on or taking off his D-power, which he would have put on for that pass. So maybe that was completely necessary. And there's Liam's first miss I think the first mistake of the whole heat. So the first 5 minutes, a flawless heat from both riders. Liam looking to unhook there, ends up on the leash. I don't know what he was going for there. Maybe the way he flies into it, he kind of looks like he goes for a preload pop and just hits a gust. But yeah, I'll put in a replay. Maybe we can work it out in a bit of slow-mo. So right now I'm just going to pause it.
Is that Mark hanging out the back there?
That is Mark Jacobs with a...
Dude, is that Mark out the back?
It is. 22-meter boost.
But by the way, how can you score the Woo record outside of a heat? He's just out there free riding, warming up.
So I just texted him before this to say what size was that Woo score, and yeah, he's about to walk on. He's 2 minutes away from walking on with Jesse, and he managed to set the Woo record for the day. Ends up with a nice cash prize for it too. So anyway, I thought that was quite an amusing part of this heat. So there's Mark coming down from the heavens there, and now we're into the last 90 seconds of the heat, and this is where shit really starts to fire. I reckon it must get a bit windier here. What do you reckon, Adrian? Like, why all of a sudden do they go massive in this last minute?
Maybe just the perfect kicker, the perfect gust, It's hard to know. I mean, that wasn't the one we were looking for.
No,
but
that's Nick, a misfire from Nick. That's his first mistake of the heat too.
He was doing his best Toby there, the old Jesus cross.
So here's Liam, a minute left, and he's just looking for a big kicker to get one more big score on the board. He knows he has to do something mad, and he does here. So that is a really big boogie loop. Perfect heli loop to catch him, and that's an 8.58, which is the highest score of the heat. That smashes Nick's 8.44 and 8.06. So we've got 35 seconds left. Nick has got to respond with something, and here it comes.
I mean, it's just it's ridiculous.
The highest
right?
scoring trick in King of the Air history. Yeah.
I mean, his butt scored like a 9.02.
That's a really big butt check, and it's contentious in that.
I mean, dude, it's ridiculously high though. Do you think it was the glare that the judges didn't see? But look, it's down. He off his 6'5" frame, back up onto his feet, and rides away. And that was pretty awesome too.
And that's Liam's final effort. That's a late back roll. It's a tricky one. I think this heat is scored correctly, other than Liam's overall impression. But I've already spoken about that on this channel, so won't get into that today. But there we go. What do you reckon, Adrian? The
bottom line is it's 70% height, right? And when you come down to it, I mean, just Nick is going so much higher, and we've seen that over the years. Everyone's like, well, what's Kevin doing? But when Kevin's going so much higher, you're playing to the scores, right? You're playing to the judging criteria, and I guess you have to go that way. But the butt check is contentious.
And look at that top 5 trick score list. 4 of them all from that heat, and actually only one of those, I think, in the final makes a dent in that.
I mean, look, if you look at it that way, you know, maybe Nick deserves to go through, you know, being up there 3 of the 5 times, you know. So Liam's gone 2nd, 3rd, 6th. He's not going the right direction. Andy's
hurt his knee. Will he make a big comeback for 2021? Is he your pick if you had to pick anyone?
2021.
If you had to put your house on it, who would you pick?
Okay, since those 2 guys are, I'll go back down to Aaron. Even though Aaron came 2nd yesterday in the big air in South Africa, I'll fall back down to Aaron. You've got to go to experience, and if it comes, you know, we just saw that semi-final. It came down to the last minute to get the win. You have to go for the guys with experience, and so I'll go Aaron. That was the long-winded answer, Aaron.
There we go. Cota's coming home, everyone. Bring on home. 2021. Until that point, we're going to be covering some of the sickest heats. I think we should do all the semi-finals. They're all ridiculous for 2020. We'll do a couple of the 2019 and maybe 18 Cotas as well. So if there's a heat you particularly want us to look at, let us know. And until then, thank you to us as always. We'll see you next time.
Bro, cut half that dribble I said out there. Just trim that dribble back.